Good afternoon, everyone. This week's Torah portion is Tazria, and for the most part, Torah portions have, or we look for a unifying theme from the beginning and the end of the Parsha. And this week's Torah portion, though, it would seem from the name in the beginning to be very incongruous with the bulk of the Parsha. The beginning is, of course, about birth, Isha ki Tazria, that a woman conceives, that she gives birth, birth of a boy, the birth of a girl. Ultimately the joyous and healthy and life-giving event. The bulk of the Parsha then goes into the laws of tsaras. Tsaras is commonly translated as being leprosy. As we know, in fact, it was not the Hansen's disease, the condition of leprosy as we know it today in medicine. It was actually a supernatural manifestation, but in any event, though, it is something which is manifest in physical symptoms. It involves a quarantine. It's a discomforting situation. And to a certain extent, the Talmud says that a person under these circumstances is almost chashiv kames, is almost deemed as if they are not alive. And so how do we juxtapose and how do we fit into one Torah portion these two disparate ideas, the life-giving of birth and the virtual opposite which we find by the tsaras? And obviously, what we have to come to the recognition that this condition of the tsaras, of this quasi-leprosy, has a purpose. And that the purpose of this discomfort and that the purpose of this difficult situation is ultimately to create new life for the person who is enduring it. And like so many things, the Rambam says that there is a correlation between physical ailments and ailments of the body and ailments of the soul, and that they follow the same patterns. So just as it is with ailments of the body, that sometimes the discomfort, the pain, is actually a good thing. It is an alarm for us to address a health issue. It allows us to sometimes we're even oblivious of our unhealthy condition until there is pain, until there are manifest symptoms. So too on a spiritual level, it is quite possible to go through life and to be unaware of a spiritual issue and a problem. And it is only when there are symptoms that call our attention can we really address that and improve the situation. Interestingly, that which we see to be as a negative, the tsaras, and there is obviously negative about it, we know that it is something that occurred only first. When we look through the Tanakh, for the most part, it occurred to holy people, to spiritual people. Moshe Rabbeinu, we know his hand becomes tsaras. Miriam becomes afflicted with the tsaras. We see it happening to people of spiritual elevation. The flip side of that is that it says that in our generations, where comparatively we are on a lower spiritual state, there is no more tsaras going on. And so we already get a glimpse that there has to be certain merit, that Hashem gives us a wake-up call, that there is a condition that needs to be addressed. And taken in this light, so we see right away that the tsaras is to help us graduate to a better life, that a person was going in a life which was really self-destructive. As we know that tsaras is associated with the sin of Lashon Hara, of speaking ill against another person. And that's the reason why they have to go into quarantine away from people to, if you wish, relive their social skills. And what the person was living their life in a way in which was becoming for them self-destructive, because our social our social state, the fact that we have friends, the fact that we are among people is so vital to the quality of our life. This person who is speaking the Lashon Hara, speaking ill of others, well, sometimes we might enjoy hearing gossip, but on the other hand, we are less trusting of a person who we know is a gossiper, and we are more guarded, and we are going to be more careful around and how we associate with such a person. And so slowly, it is not just that the gossiper is undermining the spiritual fabric of society by speaking ill of others, but he is really undermining himself and his own his own quality of life. And Hashem is giving a wake-up call by having physical symptoms that it's time to start a new life, and that new life is possible. And that's the connection in the Parsha between the new life of Tazria to the new life, that even if a person perhaps has gone on a course of life which is self-destructive, and self-destructive in a major way, the Parsha reassures us that there is the possibility of a new life starting. And that's why it's in the Parsha of Tazria, and the details, and first and foremost, of the way that new life starts is the Behuva el HaKohen, that he goes to the Kohen, he goes to a teacher, he goes to someone who can give him guidance as to how to improve his life. And that person who gives him guidance, we say, it doesn't identify the person as being a rabbi. It doesn't identify the person as one necessarily who is the repository of superior knowledge. It identifies the person who will help him as being the Kohen. The Kohen is the Isha Chesed. The Kohen is the person of compassion, of kindness. And when we discover, and when we are fortunate to discover that we need to change things around, and we know that we need a guide, but we must remember that this guide, first and foremost, should be one who can be empathetic to us. Not one who will just lecture us and tell us the rights and wrongs. We probably know the rights and wrongs ourselves. But someone who can demonstrate to us an empathy and a concern, that will be the person who will help heal us from whatever spiritual affliction that we are experiencing. This, the Rebbe, we know very often, when, be it medical, be it spiritual things, quite often the Rebbe would emphasize that the expert that we are going to should be a yedid, should be a friend. That it's not enough that they are just an expert and ready to dispense wisdom, but they have to be a yedid, they have to be a friend, they have to be someone who can empathize. And then, when we follow this course of action, we will find ourselves able to discover new life. So if there's any questions.